Ready? We'll go ahead and call the June 4th, 2024 meeting of the City of Winter Haven Planning Commission to order. Jordan, if you would, please take roll.
David Lane,
Here.
Mario Manigo,
Here.
Elizabeth Davis,
Here.
Jennifer Fasking, Wendy Venters,
Here.
Colin Wells,
Here.
Ed Smith,
Here.
Tina Summerlin,
Here.
and Craig Fuller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If you would, please stand for the invocation and pledge. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and this opportunity to serve the City of Winter Haven. We thank you for our staff and all of our great residents. We ask that you be with us and guide us. We ask these things in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance All right. Have commissioners had a chance to review the previous minutes? If so, we'll entertain a motion.
I would move that we accept the minutes
Sec-
of the last meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, minutes are approved. I'm going to move into a brief explanation of how the hearing will go. Cases will be read into the record. City staff will provide a presentation, and commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff. Once commissioners have had an opportunity to ask their questions, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against a case may do so. We ask that you start with the applicant and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Once everybody has an opportunity to speak from the public, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Commissioners will have an opportunity to ask additional questions or will entertain a motion and a vote. If you think you may speak for or against a case, if you would, please stand, and we'll ask Jordan to swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth?
Thank you. All right, moving into old business. Case number P-24-22, request by Landmark Investments, Inc. to amend the Planned Unit Development Ordinance O-89-04, general location 800 Havendale Boulevard. The area covered by this request is 13.58 plus or minus acres.
Heather Waiter, Senior Planner for the record. Before you is the future land use map. The subject property there is outlined and hashed in black. This is primary mixed-use hub, as are the surrounding properties there that front on 17 and Havendale. And then there is some traditional neighborhood area to the west. As you look at the zoning map, this is part of a plan unit development. There's another plan unit development located to the west and C3 to the north as the additional part of the Spring Lake Shopping Center. This is the aerial. As you can see, it is the southern portion of the Spring Lake Shopping Plaza. And then this is a view standing looking back at that portion of the shopping plaza as you enter in. As you look to the north, you have a restaurant and a commercial building. As you look across the street, there's Salvation Army and a vacant commercial building, and also some high-rise multifamily. As you look to the south, there is a vacant restaurant and a new medical strip center. And then this is looking more at the subject property. As you can see, the movie theater and other vacant and occupied commercial tenants are within the plaza, also in this strip plaza as well. And then this is the vacant portion of the parcel that is the catalyst for this request, where the multifamily portion of the development would be. A little bit of background. Landmark Investments Incorporated is the petitioner and requests the city amend a portion of Plan Unit Development Ordinance O-89-04. The area subject to this request is the southern portion of a parcel located at 800 Havendale Boulevard. The subject property contains approximately 13.58 acres and developed with a commercial shopping center and associated parking. The northern portion of the parcel is designated as Commercial Highway C3 zoning district. The petitioner proposes to develop a vacant portion of the property designated in the current PUD as Phase 3 of the commercial development with 100 multifamily residential units. The proposed area for multifamily development is approximately 3.1 acres. When specifically examining this area, it alone could be developed with up to 405,000 square feet of commercial space under the current PUD and primary mixed-use hub future land use designation. The current PUD ordinance is 35 years old, contains references to obsolete zoning districts pertaining to permitted uses, and does not provide development standards. Staff proposes to provide updated permitted uses and development standards for the existing developed commercial portion to align with current standards in zoning districts. Staff does recommend approval of this request, subject to the PUD conditions which are in your published agenda packet, and it's forwarding to the City Commission for final action. And this is the conceptual plan. As you can see, within the conditions, it talks about uses allowed within the commercial portion, which is the highlighted yellow area, and then there are standards for the residential multifamily portion that is there in the bluish purple. I stand for any questions you may have.
Yes. Where is the parking for these 100 family units? As I drive by that site, it looks like there is not really much area, and you've got 100 units there. That could be 300 automobiles.
Well, as you can see there by the conceptual plan, which by the way is conceptual, so location of buildings and parking is for visual display only, illustration purposes, you can see that there's parking there located within the buildings. Additionally, it will require it to go through site plan, and at that time, they will have to demonstrate that they meet the parking minimums required for the units.
Would you know what the minimum would be in terms of numbers of vehicles for the projected 100 units?
It's around 1.7 per unit.
So that would be over 200, wouldn't it? Or
170.
170.
170, okay. The main road that goes through there, the, central entrance area, I live nearby, and that particular entrance seems to be where the big trailers enter and go out. It would seem like that might be a problem, having residential and all of those huge, vehicles, turning into there and coming out and turning onto Highway 17. I don't know what New York State Highway Department has in mind for that area, but it's already over capacity without any question at all. And then you add this to it. I would like to see a report from the state highway on that particular area, because it directly impacts all of the traffic going north, all of the traffic south, and in particular, this residential area. From what I read here, it doesn't say that this is housing for age 55 and older, which could mean that you could have several hundred, children living there. And is that really viable with the current state of Highway 17 and the plaza entrance in general? Thank you.
Heather, during site plan approval, they'll have to go through DOT and
Yes.
parking requirements and.
Everything will be done through the site plan for concurrency, their access from Highway 17. I will point out that the PUD that is to the west here is for additional units. So it's these additional units in this area would be as a part of other development. And additionally, as shown in your fact sheet, this is a major reduction in what potentially could be developed under the current PUD and future land use.
I have a question. Just as a confirmation, so because it's so old, obviously, it's tough to find that PUD. And so what I wanted to ask, when that was approved back in 1989, assuming, or 1990, whenever it actually finally got approved, was it committed for that, I'll say that water use for that traffic count or was it just more general back then?
Definitely a lot general, the way it worked, and that, same with the plan unit development. So
Okay.
it did not go into details. There's no setbacks, there's
Okay.
no
They didn't calculate like what that would mean as
building
far as
heights.
impact?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing in there, and all the impact is done at, concurrency point with site plan. The current PUD lists that all the permitted uses are those uses allowed in the BR zoning district. The BR zoning district hasn't existed for 24 years.
Sure.
So we're kind of stuck with having to go back to what the code was in 2000 and say, oh, was that use allowed in BR? You can have it. And it doesn't match with our current standards and review processes for some uses. So
Okay.
it does bring up the commercial part to date. And also, this is a Phase 3 commercial that never occurred. So it allows for that area. And Primary Mixed Use Hub anticipates this mixed use and these commercial entities along with residential and multifamily to all live together like this, so.
Mhm.
I had one other question, Heather. Is any portion of this involve removing any existing structures, or is this strictly open land?
It's open land.
Okay.
It's, shoot, that's right. Yeah, it's right there. It's on that wooded area.
Any additional questions?
The primary use for the PUD to the west of it, that's another residential, correct?
It's multifamily.
Right, and that one, I think I vaguely remember it, but yeah, has it come through for a mod not that long ago, it seems like?
No, it's still the 06 PUD.
Uh-huh,
So
but it would be basically a almost identical use?
it's
as far as,
multifamily.
like-
It's 168 units.
Okay.
And then this is asking for an additional 100. So it'd be 268 total between the two.
And is that one attached, is it going to be like a co-located almost PUD, but it's, obviously they're separate
My
PUDs?
understanding is the same developer doing
Okay.
both.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, and I would only add as a matter of background that mixing uses in a major, you have a major shopping center here, and so what we're talking about is mixing residential nearby to the major shopping center, which alleviates potential traffic impacts on adjoining roads, significantly reduces potential trips on Havendale and US 17 because residents can access the retail establishments and the services and the movie theater and everything in that shopping center without actually getting on the roadway. And so it's a net positive from a transportation standpoint over what could be developed there as commercial uses.
I guess I love questions, right? Because I felt like I got the idea, but that's what I was trying to confirm is the one to the west. So I guess would or could this potentially lead to some redevelopment? Because I think that's the idea, right? Is there's just no movement on that property.
That's the hope.
That's the hope, yeah.
Okay, because, on site, it seems like people are moving out, not in, as far as on the
Yeah.
commercial, right? And if you get some residential in there, maybe you
Well, and
have
that's always the question,
like a
chicken and
catalyst,
egg.
right? Yeah,
Do you bring the multifamily first and that creates a commercial, or do you need the commercial to bring multifamily? And
Right.
so it's kind of the commercial sitting there and half dormant, half not, or whatever caliber. So this could allow for some redevelopment within there.
all right.
One more question I have.
Yes, sir.
This development is on Spring Lake, which is a small lake, a fishing lake, a quiet lake. Will this development have open access for these 200 units to all have a vote and to use the lake. And has anybody explored whether this would be environmentally wise in terms of Spring Lake? The number of housing units that are directly on that. You've got one major, condominium complex of 7 floors high, about 80 units. What is considered overdevelopment on a small, beautiful lake?
Our code would allow for a multifamily project to have a dock. You can have a community dock associated with your residential project. So if they intended to have a dock, there's a means in our code by which they could permit a dock on Spring Lake. As far as environmental impacts to the lake, they have to go through swift mud permitting to capture all of their stormwater. They cannot discharge, and we have an engineer that sits on the committee that can probably explain it better than I, but they have to capture and treat all of their stormwater. They can't discharge directly into the lake. There's a number of permitting steps that they have to go through their ERP process to ensure that they're not contaminating the lake and putting any more water in there than naturally flows into that lake. So there's lots of permitting that they have to do in order to ensure that.
Yeah, I'll also point out too that with it being commercial too today, that would also allow a dock, so they could put a dock there today as well.
Any additional questions? No? All right, we'll close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anybody from the public wishing to speak for or against? If we have the applicant here, I'd like to start with the applicant. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Good afternoon, Jason Bullard, civil engineer representing the agent, 324 New Broad Street, Orlando, Florida. I just would like to point out the request is for the PD amendment to be 100 units. On the onset, though, we're not going to request the full build-out of that. We're not, at this stage, looking to do a dock, although one is permitted if they chose to do one. We are going to keep a buffer between Lake Spring and the development. There's actually a retention pond already between us and the lake, and our intent is to keep that there. So there still remain quite a bit of buffer between us and the lake. And as staff mentioned, the proposed use would be a reduction in impact for the area, because the commercial is a much more intense intensity. So, if you have any questions, I'm here.
I do.
Okay.
The current state of condominiums in Florida and creeping across the U.S. Makes it very questionable building, mass projects like this that are condominiums, because there are so many requirements that are changing. And have you given consideration to this? Have you looked at the market in Winter Haven for condominiums?
The intent for right now, these will not be condominiums.
Oh, they won't be condominiums.
No,
Apartments.
apartments.
Apartment rental apartments.
It's listed as multifamily, residential in the uses.
Right, I just assumed that they would be individually owned.
No. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for your
All right,
comments.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Anybody else? Go ahead. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Betty Hoffman, and I'm a resident of Winter Haven, and I live within 500 feet of the said property.
Can you please state your address for the record?
No, I don't think you guys say yours, and I'm not sure if Landmark has a building with their address on it.
did.
Do you know their address?
He
Try
just,
looking it
he
up.
just listed
He
it.
said his address.
Yeah, he did,
Yeah.
but he's
So
not Landmark, is he?
it's a requirement of the public record for you to state
Okay.
your address.
All right. US 17 in the 1700 block. Okay. Landmark and I do not get along. Landmark is not like an entity, it's a family-owned business. He doesn't care about people, and you're kind of quiet. You're saying 100 units. Is this subsidized, low income? What is this? You're not telling us. You're just saying 100-unit multi-purpose families. So I would like to know, for the public, you're kind of, and when you're talking, and I don't want to be critical, I'm not a critical person. I've just had experience with these people, okay? And I will go into that. You are talking P6 and all these other terms, but that doesn't tell me or anybody else who's interested in this, okay? All right, so I will go into it, and then I'll get to Mr. Lane's thing too, because I agree with him since I live on US 17. Landmark, I'm an older lady, as you can see, I'm not computer savvy. He has a management that takes care of that. And when he goes to rent out a building over there, I don't think he does much of a background check. In 2021, he was trying to put in a guy that used to own Carlos Ganero, who owned Gonzo's Country Bar and Grill that had people shot and served his customers, and one went out and killed a person. That was one person he wanted to put in there. Thank goodness you voted that one down. And then I want to draw to mind the Spot, which had over 100 police calls in 4 months with gang activity of over 100 people there playing loud, disgusting music between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., speeding down US 17, sometimes 3 abreast. So there goes 21, 22, 23, Lola's, who said they were not any affiliation with the Spot, and that part of that mall had a different code for what they could put in there than the rest of that mall, okay? So they were in conjunction with the Spot, and they were having after hour parties between 3 a.m. and 5 p.m., and it was on social media, serving liquor without a license. In the present time, I have new neighbors at the old Floridino, some homeless people with their trash and mattresses on that porch. Now, I am concerned of who's going to be my new neighbor. Judging by what he's had before, I'm a little, more than a little concerned. Traffic, yes. And it's not your fault, FDOT. Went down Havendale, which turned into Martin Luther King on the other side of 17. Put the median all the way down. We used to be able to come down that and go down 6th Street into the back of these condos back there. We can no longer do that. Like 17 isn't busy enough, now they're sending us down 17, going south to get into these complexes. You also have a center median right across from that entrance that goes in to that mall, and there's maybe 2 car spots for anybody that's going to turn left across the street from Floridino's. Try getting in there when the traffic's as busy as it is. That's not your fault, but I hope you address that. So you can see where I'm coming from, as far as somebody that lives there, in that area, and what's concerning. And if you say to Landmark, okay, I would like to see some of it go. I understand what the problem is. Strip malls are dying, and I understand that. But if you say to Landmark, yes, you can have this, which I would support as long as it was not subsidized. If he sold that property to somebody else and made it nice, yes, but you still have traffic going in there. I don't know how the driveway will be, but when they turn into Spring Lake Mall, most of that traffic is to come out on the other side of Havendale at the light, not going into the shopping there. They're coming all the way through and coming out to Havendale. So it's not people going in to shop, it's to avoid the traffic light at the corner of 17 and Havendale. So I just want to let you know that as a neighbor, I do not respect Landmark. And because Landmark does not respect the neighborhood. So that's the end of my comments.
Thank you for your comments.
I'd like to point out a couple
Please.
things on that. So first of all, the talking of some of the unpermitted nightclub activity that occurred in the shopping plaza. This PUD will actually help with some of that. The spot that was referenced was never approved. It opened saying it was a restaurant. However, they were running as a nightclub. However, they're in this part of this 89 PUD that in the BR zoning district, which are the permitted uses, a nightclub was allowed by right without a special use approval. However, you did have to still meet the separation from a church, which they did not meet, which made them a code violation. If someone wanted to come in at this time now, that would require them special use approval, a public hearing, and to go through all the requirements of section 2196 of our code of ordinances. The other one that was in the C3 portion also was denied their special use approval by this board and operated illegally with that activity. We did not approve it. It wasn't the zoning that caused that. That was illegal activity that took place without any permission to do so. And then going into as far as what type of housing it is, we're not permitted to make decisions on zoning related to the income, whether it's market rate, affordable, workforce, whatever designation that is. And we can't make it as far as whether it's age restricted, would be breaking the law if we were making zoning decisions in that manner. So just would like to point those things out.
And Heather, if I can just add to that, I mean, does city staff see this as, Landmark making a significant investment into the neighborhood, into that area to drive some of that activity and behavior out?
Yeah, certainly this PUD will be an improvement over what's currently in place.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
I had 1 minute left. Can I just make a comment?
We've got to move on, and let's let some other people talk, and we can bring you back up if we have some time. Go ahead, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Griffin, 112 Mirror Lane Northwest.
And Deborah Griffin, I'm his wife.
We will tag team y'all, so it's maybe not, and it's not fair for y'all. I have more questions really, rather than objections. We're still a little fuzzy on, can you tell us, or can we redirect questions to the developers? How many stories are we talking about here? They're only saying it's 3 acres. 100 units on 3 acres is going to mean you're going to have to build up, in my opinion, but I'm not a civil engineer, so I can't say. Can we acquire how many floors we're talking about for those 100 units? I echo the same concern that she has with traffic flow. I don't think you're allowed to turn left out of that main entrance on 17. You'll have to be forced to go south. Turning left into it is also going to be a challenge.
I'd also like to contribute to that comment. I, do most of the shopping in the family. And at 2 o'clock, that road is backed up all the way on 17, all the way to the next light, to Publix. And people are forced to cut through the shopping center to make it to Havendale. So you're taking one backed up road and you're going on to another backed up road. And I've seen some very dangerous behavior, people driving through red lights to make it onto Havendale all the time. And of course, we live in the neighborhood behind, so I am forced, when I am on Havendale, I am forced to not turn into my neighborhood in the designed turn lane that has already been designed that will probably hold maybe 2.5 cars. I have to drive all the way down, make a U-turn to get back into the neighborhood, and that's from 2 to about 6:30, 7 o'clock every day of the week. right now, and you're telling us that they're going to have, you say 170, I think you're more accurate, over 200 cars. And then I just hear today in this meeting that there's another proposed building to the west that's going to have how many units? How many cars are those going to be? So we've got close to 200 cars, and then we're going to have another 200 cars. We've got 400 cars, and no way in, no way out. They're sharing the parking lot with a shopping center for their means of getting emergency activity. If there's some kid has a heart attack, some old person has a heart attack, or a kid drowns in the lake, they will not be able to get in to help those people. And talking about the lake, we have some friendly alligators all the time in those lakes. And we've had homeless people setting up shop, so I would love to see something built there. Don't get me wrong. But children around this lake is going to be just a horrible, horrible scenario for the city. And you'll be making the front page news probably for years and years to come.
I have another question, a technical question, I guess, maybe, is it true or not true that you have to have two ways to get in and out of a facility like this or an apartment complex? And if so, obviously, we know about the exit and entrance off of 17, but are we really, the secondary exit entrance, is that going to be through the shopping center? That's really the only path that they can take to get in and out of that facility? Or are they attempting to build a road maybe behind the shopping center to get that second entrance or exit? I don't know what the requirements are.
Okay. I'll try to address some of these, and Heather can fill in the gaps if I miss something. On the traffic side, they will have to demonstrate at the time of site plan approval, when they actually submit their site plans for the site, that there is adequate capacity on US Highway 17 and/or Havendale. Because of the access, they will likely travel up through the shopping center to the other access point on Havendale as well. And it's my understanding that this site is likely to be constructed in conjunction with the multifamily that's already approved on the western side. So there's likely going to be another access point. So there'll be multiple access points to and from this site, but they will have to demonstrate at the time of site plan approval that there is adequate capacity on the roadway network to handle this development. And if there isn't, they have to make improvements to the roadway network to handle the additional traffic. That's how we get turn lanes extended and
So who would be on the,
lights installed and things like that that are required to handle the
who would be
traffic.
paying for that?
The developer.
The developer would.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. And I think I addressed it. So access, concurrency.
Height.
Oh,
So,
height.
yes, so the multifamily, per the PUD proposed conditions, would be developed under our R3 multifamily low-density zoning district. Within the R3 zoning district, it allows a max height of 52 feet up to 4 floors as a maximum, but I don't know if that is the intended height that the developer plans to go, but they would have that as well as any other R3 property within the city.
So no more than 4 floors?
Yeah.
So did I get it wrong that there's not an adjacent property planned to the west?
No, there is.
You kind of
There's,
snuck that in there. You said it's already been approved?
that's, when was that PUD
It's
approved?
from 2006.
It's been approved since 2006.
The zoning and then the site plan is only a staff level review. It doesn't require coming back to a public hearing as long as they develop to the PUD as it's written and approved from '06.
So how many housing units would that be?
It's 168.
168 on top of the proposed hundreds, that's 268. So we're close to 300-plus cars on this road that isn't even handling the traffic today. So let's say that they build, let's start building this year. How long will it be? How long will it be before you require them to do something about the traffic?
Before they even get their site plan approval, they have to demonstrate all of that. And that would be a part, if they're required to make any improvements, to meet that concurrency, they would have to demonstrate all of that, and that would be a part of the requirement of development. That's
And
when
how
it's,
would they handle emergency? How would the traffic flow with an emergency scenario? They would be buzzing through a commercial The ambulance would be buzzing through shopping centers?
Well, I mean,
No different than it is today.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency in the shopping center, that's how.
Well,
that's
there's
how
an
they would get
emergency
there.
in a shopping center once a month, maybe, but we're talking about 260 living families.
it says shared driveway access, as many multifamily developments have, is one shared driveway access into the apartment area.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Oh, one more question. I don't know if they have projected this enough or not. You said there's, they have a permit or the ability to put a dock in. Dock is one thing. A set of slips for boats to be stored there is, in my opinion, a different animal. Is there do y'all distinguish between a boat dock and boat slips?
So we actually, our code calls them all marine structures, and there are different guidelines for a single-family marine structure versus a multifamily or commercial. There is the ability to have more than, one slip located when it's multifamily. It's so many per unit with a max of no more than 10 slips per marine structure. So with that amount of units, they could have 10 strips on it. It's very similar to on the southern side of the lake, the multifamily condominiums that are there. They have a couple marine structures that have multiple slips on them, so. But it wouldn't be like a large marina. It would small. But yeah.
There's no storage on the south. There's no storage on the south condo.
Well,
No
there,
boat storage.
not a couple, but
Yeah.
there's a couple slips that they,
Okay.
All right, guys, we gotta, please, yeah,
okay.
So we're saying that they would be allowed to have boats stored and build some kind of functioning, money-making venture on this Spring Lake to store boats?
No, we're not talking, it would be for the residents
Just for
to
the
be able
residents.
to utilize if it was developed.
Okay, and then there's the hunting issue. We have duck hunters that come on to Spring Lake all the time. Is that going to come to a stop? Who's going to be in charge of that?
That's not regulated by the city of Winter Haven or relevant to this request.
That's regulated by the state. We're preempted. We can't.
Well, it's
we
just
can't.
another unseen danger that nobody's even thought about. So I think somebody should say that they're hunting over there. And people have had windows
Yeah.
with buckshot in them. Okay.
thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody else from the public who would like to speak? Please.
I thought I saw 6 hands. You have to sign me in or something. I have a few comments.
Please state your name and your address.
Yes, it's Deborah and Anderson, and I'm on 13th Street Northwest. Spring Lake is a spring-fed lake, which some lakes aren't, which I am aware of. I am concerned about the dock space, really concerned about the traffic of those two developments that you say are by the same company. I also heard from the neighborhood that they weren't well informed about this meeting, which is very important when you want to change zoning, that people get the message clearly and with enough time. And I was very surprised as you that this wasn't a condo. I'd love to see 8 homes go in there, but multifamily apartment complexes have a different ring to me. I'd like for you to consider the welfare of the local residents as well as fashioning Winter Haven to be more wonderful. I represent 4 other neighbors. One who's celebrating his 60th birthday tonight wouldn't come. Another woman was putting in brand new flooring today. She had carpet and tile put in her house. And another neighbor had to go leave to New York for a sick mother-in-law who was having surgery on Friday. So I'm one of 4 that have these same concerns. I also have no idea because I must have missed the introduction. I don't know who the lady is in the mustard dress. I don't know who you are and how you fit. Are you a commissioner or a planner?
Ma'am, I'm a planner on staff for the city.
You're on this staff?
So They are the planning commission. They are an appointed board by the city commission, and I am on city staff in our planning division. So staff provides a background.
As well as the gentleman next to you.
Yes, he is our director.
And I think that's it. Oh, wait, I want to know, I think this is the meeting when you should address, and not the site planning approval meeting, when you should address what the traffic's going to look like. New lights, new turning alleys,
It's-
et cetera. To me, that needs to be taken care of here, not at the site.
Well, I think just to clarify some points too, from the presentation, that the allotted use today would allow 430,000 square feet of commercial space. Potentially creates a lot of trips and higher intensities.
And that's just in the blue area. If you look at the entire area, they could redevelop with, what, 1.6 million?
1.7.
1.7 million square feet. So
So we're supposed to be grateful.
It's a-
This isn't going to be as
it-
big as it could.
it's a great reduction in density.
It's a great reduction in capacity.
To address the traffic concerns, our code requires that we address traffic at the time of site plan approval, because that's when we know exactly how many units and what type of units and what type of development is going in there. What we're considering tonight is a zoning request to allow for a reduction of impacts and allow for 100 multifamily units. The developer may choose to put in 40 units or 80 units. The maximum is 100. We also don't know if it will be condominiums or whether it would be multifamily rentals or whether it would be senior restricted. So we do not know at this point exactly what the traffic impacts will be. That's why we have to do it at site plan approval, so that when they come in and we know, okay, it's going to be senior restricted, or it's going to be families, or it's going to be 80 units, or it's going to be 100 units, then we can run the appropriate calculations and know what the traffic impacts are.
That's the developer's call.
I'm sorry, you have to speak
Yes.
from the microphone so it's on the record.
Yes, ma'am. The question was, is that the developer's call? Yes. Multifamily is multifamily. We don't distinguish between whether it's a condo use. We're not allowed by federal fair housing law to distinguish between whether it's an ownership or it's a rental, whether it's senior restricted or whether it's family, whether it's income restricted or any of that. We're not allowed to, we're just allowed to say, is multifamily an appropriate use here, or is it not? And if we consider any of those other factors, we're violating federal fair housing law.
And of course, you'll be concerned with the Americans with Disability Act, and you'll have to have
Of course.
that parking as well as structure problems.
Of course, our code requires a minimum amount of handicap parking. Everything has to be ADA accessible, of course. Yes, ma'am.
I'd also like to address the comment about notice for this meeting. It was properly noticed with mailers sent out to 500-foot radius, posted, and an ad was taken out for the May Planning Commission meeting. At that meeting, the Planning Commission took appropriate action to continue it to the June 4th meeting. So therefore, it is properly noticed.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Please, sir.
It'll be on the record, not that it needs to be. Could I, as a citizen, ask Landmark, do they already know what their use is going to be? If it's going to be 55 plus or all single family, or how many, will you, in good faith, kind of enlighten us as to what your plans are? I don't like an interest. I'm just patient. You don't know.
Thank you. All right, anybody else from the public? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, go for it. I didn't see her. Hi, how are you?
Good.
My name is Marilyn Amaral. I'm the kind of go with Sue here. I'm on Kings Crossing, southwest Marion, nowhere near this location. But I guess my main question, first of all, is I'm new to these, so I'm not real sure. I'm assuming this is a planning, just to zone it, correct?
Correct.
When is enough in this city? We're seeing apartments going up everywhere. We're ripping up trees, we're doing all of this. to me like, I don't know, every time I turn around, I'm seeing a new development go up, and just like, at what point are we gonna run out of water? Are we not gonna be able to drive up and down our roads because it takes you 45 minutes to get from one end of the town to the other, when it used to be 10? It just seems like, I just don't know where the stopping point is. When do we say enough's enough?
I can interject on the,
Sure.
on the how, well, especially on the hospitals. I know Advent Health is building, and they just opened an ER in southeast Winter Haven. They're going to build a large capacity hospital there. I'm familiar with what their growth plan is in this area. As far as roads, there's some extremely large road projects that the county finally has money for. Many of the large roads in this area are actually owned by and controlled by the county. Right now, they're building West Pipkin and South Lakeland, and soon they'll be building Thompson Nursery, which is probably their biggest investment maybe ever. It might be, $100 million they're putting into that one road, which will move things from southeast to southwest Winter Haven without running it through, which is a huge problem. Water, the county and all of the region is putting in roughly, I don't want to say the wrong number, large numbers. We'll say it's approaching probably $1 billion when you think of all of the areas looking at alternative water supplies. And it's to get over 30, maybe more million gallons a day for residents because, and actually a lot of what's being redeveloped used to be Groveland, which actually had a much, 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 much higher, like to the factor of 4 or 5 water demand. That's why the lakes largely are kind of coming back and they're reviving. And then I'll say Mike Britt has been spearheading a huge project to clean up the water because years ago we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know that we were polluting our own water sources by some of the developments. And so his legacy, I guess, is this Sapphire Necklace project, which is really to reestablish and put the water back into this environment. I know it's not obvious. We have so many plans, and I'm on.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So I will say, like, these people here are understaffed and probably overworked because you're right. There's so much development going on, and we've been planning for many years on this. It's just trying to keep up with it is a challenge. But
I know my quality of water at home, I won't drink it. Flat out will not drink that water.
understood, and
It's like, is this gonna get better? Because you guys just redid all of that through my neighborhood. It seems to be worse than it was before, so that's where my concerns are coming from. Like, and I know this is a Florida concern.
Sure.
The growth in Florida is, I'm really worried about our aquifer, I'm not gonna lie. But, I know it's everywhere, but it's just like, as our small little town, as much as we love it, enough's gotta be enough at some point. All these developments everywhere, we're taking up every inch of spare space out there, and the trees coming down are not helping with global warming. Whether you believe in it or not, it does, those trees help with the temperatures.
I can tell
I'll
you.
let them field that, because I'm so glad they're actually
Yeah.
working on that right now,
Oh,
yeah.
so I can tell you that you're not the only one with these concerns, right? Believe it or not, the people sitting at this table have the same concerns. It's urban planning is an interesting field, and it's a balance between private property rights, which is the cornerstone of the American economy, and the community's ability to plan for the use of that property in an appropriate and effective and efficient way, right? And so it's that balancing act. The only way that a community really can say no to something is if they run out of resources, right? Run out of water, run out of the ability to treat wastewater, run out of land, because we live in America, we have private property rights. We can't tell somebody you can do nothing with your property. Right. They have to be able to do something with it, right? So.
It has to get approved through all of you guys before they can do anything.
Correct, which goes back to our point that this is already approved for several 100,000 square feet of retail. And so allowing 100 apartments to go here is actually a reduction over what could go there. And so as a staff, we look at that and we say, well, that's a better case scenario. It's less water use, it's less wastewater generation, it's less trips over what's already approved there. Hence, the recommendation for approval from staff. But we have an urban forestry plan that we're implementing to try to plant more trees in the urban space and in the urban environment to combat global warming, because we recognize what you recognize. Somebody's putting in a 200-unit subdivision and they're wiping out all the trees.
It's happening everywhere though, so it's like, how do we replace all of those?
Correct. Correct.
And my final thing, I'm not sure who mentioned it, but there was something about what, like, people being able to shop in that plaza. Have you guys been to that plaza?
Yeah.
There's a dollar store, there's rent to own, there's a gym, and there's a theater and an ice cream shop. That's literally about all that's in there. Tell me who's shopping in there.
Right. So that's
You're
part,
not going grocery
It's
shopping,
part of the
you're not going
additional
to bank.
investment.
right.
You're not going, so that traffic in and out, that's not gonna leave them. That's not gonna help those people unless they're running to the Dollar General or the Dollar Tree for a gallon of milk. They're gonna have to leave and come in and out of there to do anything in this town. That plaza is not going to support those people. So I don't know what the plans are for that place, but, like somebody else mentioned, the strip malls they're becoming a thing of the past.
If I can add to that too, the revision in the PUD does give the city additional oversight as to what happens in that shopping center as well.
Okay. Yeah, something needs to be revamped there. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? All right, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Any additional questions? I've already closed the public portion. And I just asked if we,
Typically, you use your time when you're up and you don't
yeah,
get to retain it.
we've closed the public portion, reopened the planning portion. Any additional questions?
I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
So, at the time of the final approval, when the developer decides what type of units that's gonna be, is that something that's made known to the public? If it's gonna be multi-family housing, it's gonna be subsidized homes?
So we would use that it would be in their application for site plan approval, and we would use that information to, do traffic generation and parking requirements and stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, and anybody can do a public records request to see a site plan, yeah.
No worries. That's all I got.
Should we ask the applicant if he wants to answer any of the questions?
As the applicant, did you want to address any of these questions or concerns? No? Okay. All right, thank you. Any additional questions from commissioners? No?
I'd like to entertain a motion to, approve case number P-24-22, request by Landmark Investments Incorporated to amend planned unit development ordinance O-89-04, general location 800 Havendale Boulevard. The area covered by this request is 13.58 plus or minus acres.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All approved, same sign. All against, same sign.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to new business. Case number P-24-06-S, request by JSK Consulting for special use approval for personal storage in the commercial highway C3 zoning district, general location portion of the parcel located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Eloise Loop Road, Thompson Nursery Road, Westlake Ruby Drive, and Coon Lake Road. The area covered by this request is 7 plus or minus acres.
All right, so we received a request today by JSK Consulting, who's the applicant, to continue this item to our next meeting. I request that we have a motion to continue it to the July Planning Commission meeting, and I would keep it as that, because later at the meeting, we'll discuss what date the July meeting will be held on. So,
I'll make a motion to continue case number P-24-06-S to the July 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, case is continued. Case number P-24-07-S, request by Rivercard LLC for special use approval for a banquet hall located in the planned unit development zoning district, subject to PUD ordinance O-24-01, general location 1977 and 1983 21st Street Northwest. The area covered by this request is .05 plus or minus acres.
All right. Here is the zoning map. As you can see, the hashed area are the units that are in question along this commercial PUD. It's located at the intersection of 21st Street and Havendale Boulevard. Adjacent is a PUD to the west, which is developed with multifamily, and there is C3 to the south and the east. As you look at the aerial, you can see there it is a developed multi-building commercial development, and then these are two units within the largest building on the property. This is a picture looking at the subject units, looking at the commercial strip center as you looked to the northeast. As you look to the east along Havendale, there's a gas station at that intersection. As you look across Havendale to the south, there is vacant commercial located there. And again, as you look to the west, there are the Lake Idlewild townhomes or apartments, multifamily, there we go. Evergreen, that's what it's called. Sorry, I couldn't remember. Anyways, River Card LLC is the petitioner and requests special use approval for a banquet hall located in the planned unit development PUD zoning district subject to PUD ordinance O-2401. The property subject to this request is located at 1977 and 1983 21st Street Northwest in the Idlewild Plaza. The applicant's tenant proposes to operate a banquet hall called Majestic Canvas Events in the approximately 2,400 square foot lease space. The proposed floor plan for Majestic Canvas Events is open space to be set up specifically for each event. Hours of operation will vary based on booked events. Per Section 2196, the applicant has developed a security plan that has been approved by the Chief of Police. A banquet hall with 2,400 square feet of gross floor area would require 34 parking spaces. There is adequate shared parking in the shared parking lot of the Idlewild Plaza to support this request. Staff does recommend that the Planning Commission approve this request. And this is the floor plan for the banquet hall. Stand for any questions.
Any questions, commissioners? No? All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anybody wishing to speak for or against, starting with the applicant? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Peter Carrero. I represent the River Card. I'm at 1136 First Street South. So I'm here to answer any questions. I know there's a little bit of an issue with the kind of banquet hall type things in the past. I think public tenants were the issue off Dundee Road. I in good contact with the tenants that are good with this, and they're very excited, and I've told them, do it correctly, so I'm excited to see what this can be. So I think it'd be a good thing for the city. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? All right, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Any additional questions, or will entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve case number P-24-07S, request by River Card LLC for special use approval for a banquet hall located in the PUD Plan Unit Development Zoning District, subject to PUD Ordinance 0-24-01, general location 1977 and 1983 21st Street Northwest. The area covered by this request is 0.05 plus minus acres, as presented in the fact sheet.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. Moving on, case number P-24-08-S, request by Bond Clinic PA for special use approval for an accessory pharmacy and a medical clinic in the mixed-use zoning district. General location, 500 East Central Avenue. The area covered by this request is 2.56 plus or minus acres.
All right, as you can see, this is the zoning map. This property is zoned MX, and the surrounding properties in all direction are also zoned MX. As you look at the aerial, this is the Bond Clinic establishment here on Central Avenue. It does span between 6th Street and 5th Street. Across the street, there's a mixture of small medical offices and other business offices, and then their parking is to the south and the east. This is a view of the subject property looking to the north, standing on Avenue A. And this is a view of the subject property shown on Central Avenue. As you look to the west, there are other medical offices, as well as offices and medical offices to the north, and then again, additional parking to the east across 6th Street. Bond Clinic is the petitioner and requests special use approval for an accessory pharmacy and a medical clinic located in the mixed-use MX zoning district. The subject property, totaling 2.56 plus or minus acres, is located at 500 East Central Avenue and contains an approximate 93,920 square foot medical clinic. The petitioner proposes to operate a 2,004 square foot retail pharmacy embedded inside the medical clinic for patients of Bond Clinic. The proposed hours of operation are from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. As the customers of the pharmacy will be patients of the medical clinic, minimal impacts to public infrastructure are expected. Staff does recommend that the Planning Commission approve this request. Stand for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
I have one question. So it's already an existing structure, so is that going to be, you have to go into the clinic to get to the farms? Okay.
That's correct. It was an internal renovation inside in that area there that's shown on the screen.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, we will close the planning portion of the hearing and open the public portion of the hearing. Anybody from the public wishing to speak for or against?
Representing the applicant, Ashley Scanlon, 2930 Eagle Nest View Drive. More than anything, this is our second time coming before the commission, and we also are in front of city commission. We just wanted to go on record as Bond Clinic is thanking you guys for your time, thanking Eric Levy and staff so much for making this process smooth for us. So that's, unless there's any questions, that's all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else? All right, we will close the public portion of the hearing and reopen the planning portion of the hearing. Any additional questions, or will entertain a motion?
I'd like to entertain a motion for case number P-24-08-S, request by Bond Clinic, PA, for special use approval for an accessory pharmacy and a medical clinic in the mixed-use zoning district during location 500 East Central Avenue. The area covered by this request is 2.56 plus or minus acres.
A second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. Moving on, case number P-24-09-S, request by Weili Liao for special use approval for a large-scale drinking establishment in the commercial downtown C1 zoning district, general location 254 West Central Avenue. The area covered by this request is .05 plus or minus acres.
All right. This is the zoning map. It's located in our downtown, which is all Zone C1, as you can tell. This is the aerial map. It is the eastern portion of the southern arcade that is located at this address on Central Avenue. As you look here, this is the subject property. It is the unit located there east of the breezeway. As you look, it also, there is seating along within the breezeway as well. And then as you look to the west, there are office uses and other drinking establishments located to the west. And as you look north across Central Avenue, you have the tap room, a real estate office, and the Ritz. And again, more to the east, you have the Peterson and Myers office is immediately adjacent. Weili Liao is the petitioner and requests special use approval for a large-scale drinking establishment located in the commercial downtown C1 zoning district. The property subject to this request is located at 254 West Central Avenue. The applicant proposes to operate a drinking establishment called Obscure Bottle Shop in the approximately 2,100 square foot leased space. The proposed floor plan for Obscure Bottle Shop contains 4 tables and a bar without seating. The proposed hours of operation are from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. per section 2196. The applicant has developed a security plan that has been approved by the chief of police. A large-scale drinking establishment with approximately 2,100 square feet of gross floor area would require 30 parking spaces. Since the property is located in the C1 zoning district, there are no on-site parking requirements. However, within the downtown corridor, there are approximately 700 public parking spaces either on-street, in a parking lot, or in the downtown parking garage. Staff does recommend that the Planning Commission approve this case, subject to the conditions in the agenda packet. And this is the floor plan that was submitted. I stand for any questions that you may have.
Heather, do they already have a special use approval for a previous business?
No, the Agape Agora was located in there, and that was considered a restaurant and retail. So this will be, my understanding is they will, the package part of it does not require special use approval. However, they are going to have on-site consumption located in it. So that is the part that requires the special use approval.
So not really much of a change other than removal of food from what's taking place there today.
And the addition of alcohol, because they currently aren't permitted for alcohol with the Agape Agora.
Okay, I got you. Any additional questions? No? All right, we will go.
No, I was just, is it associated with the one a few doors down, or?
Yes, same owner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
same
that's
owner.
really, yeah.
Same
But
owner.
Are they moving, or is it?
It's an additional,
Oh, okay.
additional business.
All right, cool.
All right, we will close the planning portion and open the public portion. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this case? All right, we'll close the public portion and reopen the planning portion. Any additional questions or motion?
I'd like to entertain a motion for case number P, to approval for case number P-24-09-S, requested by Leeway Lau for a special use approval for a large-scale drinking establishment in the commercial downtown C1 zoning district, location 254 West Central Avenue. The area covered by this request is 0.05 plus or minus acres.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, case is approved. Moving on to other business, comments from staff.
All right, so your July meeting date. So it is scheduled for Tuesday, July 2nd. So that is very close to the Independence Day holiday. So we need to discuss, will we have a quorum, or do we need to look at moving it to another July date, which the suggestion would be 1 week later on the 9th, which could still affect with the holiday being on the Thursday prior. So we need to see if we're going to have a solid quorum before, because we do have to advertise and we have items that need to go forward, so.
I will not be here.
On both dates?
No, 9th would, I'm fine.
And
I'm gone the week of.
The week of the
I'm-
Available the
are you-
Ninth.
I'm not available the 9th.
I'll be at the 9th.
I'm available both days, so.
That gives us a
I'm
quorum.
available both, yeah.
Okay.
The
So,
second?
so was it the 2nd or the 9th? What?
The ninth.
The
The
9th.
9th? Okay, so then we will need an actual motion to move the meeting date to the 9th.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to move the July meeting to July 9th.
Second.
Wait a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay.
I'll just put on the record as well, the meeting, or the item that was continued earlier in the meeting will be heard then on July 9th.
JSK.
Comments from planning commissioners? No? All right. Comments from the public? No? All right. We are adjourned.
Okay, we did it.